And just a couple of acknowledgements here. So the first one is just a thank you to everybody that came out to support for Rotary's Lobster and Laughs at the Pines on Saturday. About 200 people, and but do appreciate Mayor O'Brien and Tom and Andrew Smith who came and participated and helped out and for that. We had members of the Windermere Police Department who came out as recipients of our tickets for heroes, which is great, and Crow firefighters as well. So thank you for the support. That was a great community building event for that. Second part of my long range planning hat on. We've been reviewing the comp plan for the last 2 months. Going through member comments and member review. Appreciate council member Stroop's support in that, and we'll do our final review next a couple weeks from now. We have our next meeting, and we'll make the recommendations to council. So again, thank you for your support, and look forward to sending that to you.
Great. We send our appreciation and congratulations on a successful event. It was very well attended, and the trajectory looks really good. Great job. Next up is Mr. Bob McKinley.
We did 536 Magnolia Street. On December 22nd, following the food truck event, I wrote a letter to each of the council members expressing some of the concerns I have with the decoration and lighting around the town square and on town hall itself. I still have some of those concerns. However, here's my main problem, and I wrote you rather than talking with the town manager, because I was concerned that maybe you weren't seeing the same things I was. And if you're happy with what's out there, shame on me, but it doesn't look good at all to me. I understand that Winter Garden and Oco have much larger budget for decorations than we do. They also have a much larger area, and they go more into it. We need to take a look at how much we budget for this and get a good plan moving forward. So that when people ride through Windermere, especially in our centennial year, they will say, that looks nice. My main problem is that 2 of you have got back with me and actually sat down either at my house or on the phone and talked to me. One of you acknowledged that you received an email. The other 3, crickets. You're an elected representative. If I send you an email, I would really like to hear back from you. At least say, Bob, you're full of it. But we'll take a look at it, or something at least acknowledges you got it. And the fact that you did not even consider getting back with me, shame. For those of you that did, I really appreciate the time that you took to discuss this situation. Thank you.
Sir. I'll confess, I didn't get back to Bob, and I apologize to you in front of everybody here. I'll be honest with you, I don't recall getting it. I'm not saying I didn't, but I normally do get back with people or say something, so I don't want anybody to think it was somebody else besides me, because it was me that didn't get back with me. I apologize. Next up is Jeff. I'm gonna go with your TC name. All right.
Yeah, all good. So
Come up to the podium if you'd be so kind, so we can make sure we get your comments on the record, sir. Give us your address.
So Jeff Shikalski, 219 West Second Avenue. I would like to discuss the Second Avenue project when it comes to that. So could I have my
Yeah,
time?
you can defer until that point. If you'll
Please.
just give me, do me the favor of reminding me if I forget you. Okay.
Okay.
Sometimes we get going and it's. Next is Michelle. KOC. Michelle must be you, Michelle. Sorry, I can't. Kosi. I apologize. 222 West Third Avenue.
Yeah.
You'll join us at the podium? Or do you wish to defer as well?
I would appreciate.
That's fine. If you'll just join us at the podium, give us your name and your address, so we can have you down for the record and make sure that we enter all your comments into the record.
Michelle Posey, KOCI. 222 West Third Avenue, Windermere. And I would like to defer to. Which one of you?
Second Avenue, project.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Good. And, the final speaker for our open comment tonight is Mateen Palucki, 226 First Avenue. If I mispronounce your last name, I apologize. I think I got that one right. Maybe.
That's correct, Mateen Palucki, 226 West First Avenue. This is the first time in 40 years I've ever come to a meeting, and I don't know the parliamentary procedure, but I am also here about the runoff that's gonna be coming, my concern down to my property. So should I defer?
You can, we'll, I think we're gonna make sure that we address those concerns to the best of our ability tonight, and then, of course, we can discuss further. Okay,
I just heard about it a couple of days ago, that they're gonna start in February, and I haven't seen anything or. So I guess I'll stick around.
that would be great.
Thank you.
Try to answer any questions that we can. That concludes our public comment. I also have an Arbor Day proclamation. You had someone explain to accept the Arbor Day proclamation? I'll come on down.
Yes, Vicky can.
Okay, you read.
Podium.
It's perfect.
This is a proclamation from the town of Windermere, whereby in 1872, Sir Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our town and community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Whereas the town of Windermere proudly celebrates 27 years as Tree City, USA. Now therefore, I, Jim O'Brien, Mayor of the town of Windermere, do hereby proclaim Friday, January 17, 2025, as Arbor Day. In the town of Windermere, I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being for future generations. Dated this 14th day of January, 2025. You want to make any comments or talk about Arbor Day or?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to remind everyone who's here, their town residents, that Saturday is our tree giveaway from 9 o'clock to 11:30 at the corner of Forest and Fifth Avenue. We'll get a free tree, and unless you signed up for a centennial tree, then you'll get your centennial tree picked up. Bring your ID so we know that you're a town of Windermere resident. If you find that you need a second tree for your yard, after 10:30, you can come back and purchase an additional tree. So thank you guys, and because we do this, we're able to stay at Tree City, USA. That's what the proclamation's about, and that's what our tree giveaway is about. So thank you all.
Vicky, is that pickup gonna be in the same place it was last year in the
Same-
parking lot?
same place.
Brewery, right?
Right, Glen Brewery, yeah, that's the best place to kind of do it. But thank
It's the greatest, thank you. All right, council, let's get into it here under old business, or rather new business rather, we have our meeting minutes. We have 3 sets of meeting minutes. You can approve all these individually or as one item of consent. Council looking for a motion to.
Motion to approve all 3 sets of meeting.
Motion to approve all 3 by Councilperson Second, Councilperson Williams. Comments, questions, or concerns, council? Seeing none, we can voting Councilperson Haynes.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, and for the record, Councilperson Andy David is out ill this evening. Next up is item B. This is resolution and ordinances for approval on first reading. This is resolution 2025-01. Town Council for the Town of Windermere adopting update to the town's tree mitigation fee. Attachments are in your packet. The tree board recommends approval. Do you have any presentation on this? It's that we do, of course.
We do, yes. Yes. And I'll go ahead first. I just want to recognize the members of the tree board. If you would all just please stand so we can recognize you this evening for your hard work. Thank you. So this evening, we're bringing to you a resolution. There has been discussion since I arrived in the town 4 years ago about the fact that the DBH cost per inch was not strong enough for the town. And so the tree board has worked with Wade Trim to develop and bring forward a resolution to you all, which we feel is more fair and more in alignment with the town's concerns about tree issues. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Cornelius. He and Chris have worked tremendously with the tree board on this, and I would like to thank them for their efforts.
Again, Brad, Cornelius, Wade Trim, serving the contract with town planning, and as Tony said, Chris Thompson with me, our landscape architect, certified arborist. A good timing with today being Arborist Day too, with the resolution, so I was really happy to see that. As Tanya said, this has been an issue for some bit of time. In the town of Windermere, your tree mitigation fee has not changed in over 10 years. When we first started in 2014, that was the number we were given by the town's finance director, was $75, of what the council had previously approved. So it's been stagnant for the past 10 years. So it definitely is time to update it and revise it. As you may recall, the tree board did the strategic plan, which you all reviewed, and part of what they're doing is reviewing your tree ordinance. And when we met with them, one of what we call kind of the early successes we could have without having to amend the actual ordinance is to update this fee, because in your ordinance, what it says is you set this mitigation fee by resolution. So it does not require an amendment to your ordinance. You just have to adopt a resolution, which you can adopt this evening and tonight, and it would become effective immediately if you do adopt it this evening. The tree board did a lot of work on this. Pam on the tree board, the information you have about other jurisdictions, she did that. She did the research and provided that information, which was very helpful. What we also did is Chris did a calculation on what he felt would be a reasonable, not reasonable, but the maximum, I would say, defendable tree mitigation fee. And he came up with a number of $225 per diameter breast height, the DBH inch of tree that would be removed but not replaced. That was the maximum that we came up with. At the tree board meeting on December 19th, they reviewed all the information and made a recommendation to bring to town council to amend the tree mitigation fee from $75 to $175 per DBH inch of tree removed but not replaced. So that is the recommendation before you, is to increase that mitigation fee to $175. Chris and I do believe it's supportable based on his analysis of what the highest one could be supported. The other important part of this is what happens with that fee. When the town does collect money through this mitigation fee, the town has a tree fund that it goes into. And what your code says, that money is then used by the town to enhance the town's tree canopy and protect the trees. And that's where the tree board comes in, because then they provide a recommendation to use town council about how to spend that money and where to spend that money. Also, what's important about this fee, or this mitigation fee, is this is how we do enforcement when people do things not properly. What your code says is if someone violates your tree code, removes the tree without the proper approvals, and they don't qualify for any of the exemptions, then they pay double that number. And actually, if it's a branch tree or a sword tree, I can't remember, it's 30 or 36 inches, it's actually triple that number. So we do feel by increasing this fee, it really does show the commitment of the town
to protect the tree canopy. And we do, I don't need to do this, but I would recommend that you adopt this as presented by your tree board, because I think this would be a benefit to the town. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
Did we discuss at all, how we're going to do enforcement? I know this is one of the challenging pieces to this, because some folks who maybe they just like to cut trees down on the weekends. I'm not saying they're trying to get around the staff in place, but and enforcement, but it is a possibility that we've got some enforcement mechanism. I think without that, it makes these rules difficult. Certainly it's support overall of the mitigation process there.
I'll let Tanya start and I'll add in.
Sounds good.
Actually, we do. We work very well with our new code enforcement officer. He's done a wonderful job of being proactive and being out there and taking a look at it. But I will say that there's very rare occasions when a tree comes down in this town that somebody doesn't reach out to me and let me know. And so, as you know, this fee is to go back and say, you shouldn't have done that, and now you owe us money. Because it is, like you said, it's hard to be everywhere at all times on the weekend, but now we actually have a good, if you approve this evening, we have a good mitigation fee we can take back to start replacing canopy that's lost from this. So I think that's the critical piece in this. We do find out about the trees and we are going to be able to recoup this mitigation fee.
So we can go back and say,
Yes, we go ahead and.
it was here, we know it was here.
Yes.
This side.
Yeah, generally we get phone calls with photographs of who the tree company was, what the address was, and then we go back and take a look at the stumps that were left, and that gives us the idea of the size of the tree.
Mayor, as we've said before, one of the difficulties that we have on enforcement is the statutory exemption. That we always have to be cognizant of because we cannot violate that. And why that's important for everybody to understand what that is. That if somebody is taking down a tree, or they've taken down a tree, if they have gone through the proper process with the landscape architect and arborist. And did the required assessment as required by the Florida statute. And that arborist determines that the only viable mitigation because of the danger or issue with that tree is removal. We cannot require them to get a permit, we cannot require them to replace the tree, we cannot do any enforcement on them. We can, though, if we see a tree coming down, we see a tree came down, we can ask the property owner to show us that documentation. And if they don't have that documentation, then we can do the enforcement. The other part of enforcement is through permitting. And we've actually had quite a few issues recently where we've addressed. When we go through permitting, if people are taking down trees that are outside of their footprint of their development, which generally they haven't, but recently we've had some situations where they have. Then we're able to enforce. I can tell you, we just had a tree removal on Lake Butler Boulevard, and the fine was $20,000 for all the trees they took down. And that property owner, I would say, cooperated, and they did pay the town that fee. So, and that was on the $75 per inch. On that one. So we have that ability for enforcement, but it is hard because.
I know it's not without challenge, and certainly the current statutes make it a little extra challenging, but I just want to make sure that we had gone down the road so we could at least explain to the folks, because a lot of times council will get those phone calls or those text messages and those pictures. And it's best if we're able to all say the same message out to those individuals who send those as well as.
And Mayor, I also say part of the bigger picture of what the tree board is doing, they're actually also looking at a full update to the tree ordinance to help with enforcement, because there are internal conflicts. You actually have a statement in about exemption that would apply to just about anybody if they get an arborist just to say it's a danger outside of the statutory exemption. So that's a big part of this tree update, is to make sure it doesn't have internal conflicts and that it does what the town wants it to do. So that should be coming to you all hopefully spring, summertime this year.
Council, any questions on this particular item?
Just one, Brad. What was the rationale to back off from the maximum supportable amount to
So that's funny, the tree board members, but I wasn't at that meeting when they actually made the recommendation or.
I wasn't there either.
No, I can tell you.
I agree with
I can tell you. So Chris did a wonderful job of coming up with his rationale for the DBH fee, which is what you see in the memo initially. However, we also went out to all the other municipalities and cities and we gathered their prices per DBH. And so I think the tree board felt like it would be more reasonable to start with 175 than to go with the 225 at this point. They thought that might be a huge bite to take on, with the idea that because this can be done with a resolution, if we still feel 175 is not the appropriate amount, we could come back and ask for the 225 at that point. But we didn't want to shock people too badly with going to 225 right away. I think that was their thoughts.
I mean, so I was not at the meeting I was at the previous meeting, and I will say tree boards work very hard on this. The meeting about every 2 to 3 weeks, actually, working on this and also the ordinance simultaneously. And I wasn't at the meeting either where they backed off the number. I honestly said, go for the gold, go for the 225. I don't really think it's that much for the people doing these large developments where we usually have these kind of issues. So personally, I was okay with the 225, but council was agreeable with that, and if not, then.
I don't think tree board would be opposed to you selecting 225.
Brad did, a lot of research into what makes sense, and this is including installation. So, that's a big part of the cost.
Was there concern about reaction from these developers that are cutting down trees, or the reaction from council?
I think more or less the reaction from council going from 75 to 225. Not wanting to put you all in a bad position either.
I mean, I'm doing quick math. 30-inch tree, that's $5,000 versus 7,500, that's not a whole lot. In my opinion, because that tree, if it's a 30-inch oak, that's $3 to $4 grand to tear down to start with, just to cut it down.
Mhm.
I don't have a problem with the max, because there's a ton of extensions in our code. We're only talking about a very small group that we're actually gonna be able to go after. So, yeah, I'm very amenable to exchanging this and going up a little bit more.
So, Mayor, with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-01 with an amended amount to $225.
Okay, motion from Councilperson Davitt.
Second.
For a second, Councilperson Williams, and I'm gonna take a quick pause here and we need to restructure the ordinance, or are we able to approve it with?
You can approve it. We'll just cross through that number. It's a resolution.
Sounds good. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns, council? Seeing none, we can vote. Councilperson.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Just so everyone knows, take it back tomorrow.
Thank you all. Thank you, council.
Thank you, council.
Next up is our contracting agreement, section C. This is a subrecipient agreement for DR 4337-297-A. This is modification number 1 with FM for West 2nd Avenue drainage improvements. Staff recommends approval, and I believe, Mike, are you going to present on this?
I have an update first. So yeah, he's here to answer any questions, but just to remind you all, we have already done this once on this modification and this subrecipient agreement. The reason it's coming back to you is because when the bid went out, it came in much higher than anticipated. So we had to go back to FDEM, take the project completely back through their process in order for them to approve the price increase and also approve the fact that only one contractor bid on the work. They did all of that. FDEM and FEMA have both approved it and sent it back to us. So it's here for your approval this evening. This project has not changed since it went through all of the public input and all of the public meetings that we have had. There is no change to this project. It is simply the subrecipient agreement now including the increased price.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
Just to remind everyone as well, I think this project goes back about 4 years, so, yeah, just so everybody's aware of that. It would have been probably a year after when we get into mitigation, but yes. So 2 things tonight. Well, I think what is best for us to do at this juncture, go ahead and get that public comment from those individuals who chose to wait a few seconds to give that. So we'll start with Jeff. then council can get all their questions answered if they have any. We'll do our best to make sure we get your questions answered as well.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. So I got you. So Jeff Nikolsky, 219 West Second Avenue. So originally this goes back, and several of the council members know about this situation. So does Mr. Mike Galera. Again, nothing has been changed. So when the 4th Street improvements were made, all that was planned, Mike Galera planned it. There were inlets on 4th Street. They were cut down to ground, so they're no longer swales. They transfer water. They transfer water around to my boat dock. So we've been told that when the Second Avenue project and these drainage plans that no one has seen yet would be implemented, then that would be lessened. I have many some South Florida water management permit violations that are still taking place, and it's dumping large amounts of sediment into Wasion Bay on every rain. So that's the number one thing. The number two thing would be the swales on 2nd Avenue and 4th Street. At the bottom of that fishbowl right now, again, no swales. They have ditch bottom inlets, which convey water to a French drain system that takes in coquina and sand, and it clogs up the French drain system. You can go vacuum out the bottom of the weirs all you want, or the inlets. That doesn't get to any of the pipe system that are apparently French drain system. Now they just turned into conveyance pipes. Number 3, the outfall at 219 West 2nd Avenue. Again, an additional permit violation. It is now 5 feet deep. I have pictures when we all started this fiasco. It was 1 feet deep. It's 5 feet deep and 8 feet wide. My boat dock is a platform lift. I have to dig it out every year. The whole entire thing. It's 30 feet away from the outfall, which it's not named an outfall because you guys aren't allowed to pump water on every rainfall into Wasion Bay. I believe that's it for now, but I would like to circulate some pictures of town council and also to the audience, and especially to Mr. Mike Blair, so they can see the damages that they're causing, the hydrilla that's now growing, and the mess that you guys have caused. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jeff, just for quick reference. I don't know nearly as much about it as you do. I walked with you that one time and you showed what we're talking about, some layout. But I guess my question is have you talked to anybody from that? Represent that company for a solution? Like, you have a solution? I guess I'm asking, do you have a solution?
We do have a solution. I was told that I can't talk to Mike Galera, and him and Mr. Hamster with Pegasus Engineering were told by the town not to call me and not to talk to me. Interesting.
Why was that, Jeff?
You'll have to talk to them and not to me. I do know a lot about drainage. I've been in golf course design and construction for 25 years, since I was 21 years old. They discount me, or they say, we'll work with it. They told me if they want any changes, like the weirs that were cut outside of any permit, that I would have to sign documents, signing my rights away to whatever problems that, additional problems that, putting this back to the original design, the permitted South Florida water management design, that then I could not bring it up, I couldn't say anything, which is a very bad way to treat someone in town, saying, oh, if we put it back so it doesn't pump water into Wasion Bay, you need to sign all your rights away, which I was unwilling to do. It now is the same as it was 3 years ago, including when they plant and stabilize the outfall. They knock the cinder blocks into the water, and all those cinder blocks still lay there to this day. Cinder blocks right in the water. They're now 4 feet lower because it's all been eroded. Again, another South Florida water management permit violation. And that's why instead of having, and I've met with everyone on town council except for Miss Haynes because she wasn't here. Molly Rose wouldn't even meet with me when she was on town council because she said, I know the people in the government positions up there and I believe that they did what was right.
Well, I mean, do you think we have a material disagreement in some of this information, so.
Which part of it?
The other piece of this is that part of the reason that communication is impaired is because, when you brought legal counsel, that changes the dynamic, you know. When
I brought legal counsel because you guys said the system is working as it should.
Changes the freedom of all that information, that discourse, so just.
So, with all due respect, what other things don't you agree upon? And because I have a list of permit violations and I have pictures of those permit violations, and you can tell that this is very, very dirty water that is coming directly into Wasion Bay, and there is no filter, there is no way to hold any of that water and have the top layer pour into the system. It is conveyed. So can you or anyone tell me who had the authorization to cut all the inlets on Forest Street?
We're not gonna discuss any of that here, so what you can do is you can certainly share that information with the clerk. And we certainly, everyone has heard your comments, we can have some discussion with Mike, but we're not going to, when we get into litigation, we don't generally do it at a town council meeting.
We're not in litigation
I
right
understand.
now anymore because you guys were doing the same thing with the boats. You were just making me spend money and hope I would go away. And you know what, Jim, it worked.
That's not.
But now we're back at it.
Okay.
It exactly.
It's okay, we can agree to disagree a little bit on this, we believe that we're in compliance, you disagree, that's okay. But go ahead and leave that with the clerk, and I'll make sure the town council gets that information that you have there.
Would you at least read these permit violations?
I'll read them, we'll all read them.
Okay. Can I give these to you, Mr. Mike, so you can look at?
I'll take them and give them to the clerk and we'll make them part of the record. Thank you.
Ask a question.
Could-
Or dispute, is there?
I wanted,
Comment and then you can ask.
I-
Does that work for you?
I do want those back. So I can pass some of those around to the audience as well. So I'd like you guys to just look at it. That's fair, right?
He copies for the public record though.
That's fine. You can make copies.
Okay, we can keep them.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah,
get.
oh, yeah, so-
So we can all see them and we're happy to look at them,
Okay, and then,
but they need to stay to have public record, so. it's-
yes, sir.
Okay.
That's fine. So can we pass them around to the audience as well, so everyone can look at what's going on?
Do that once but make sure they get into the record, would be my
Yeah.
recommendation.
Perfect.
Stay them now. Yes.
So we get back what we need to have.
Yeah,
Thank
no, no,
Thank you.
yeah, I'm sure you're all safe.
And whatever's left. then
Okay.
Come back to the council.
Yes, ma'am.
That
Okay.
way we have the record.
Thank you so much. Anyone want to take any rules?
Oh, you gave your minutes, I'm sorry, you gave that, fair enough, okay. All right,
So is there anyone else on
and Mateen, Peliki also had some comment. It's fine. Just, we'll leave both of your names and addresses just for the record, okay?
Blicky, 226 West First Avenue.
Beaver 522 West Second Avenue.
I feel really bad for Jeff's talk, but I am the one that has a house down there, you guys. And that water comes down from Second Avenue. It's kind of pretty because it's like a waterfall, but it does a lot of damage and it keeps eroding into my property, flooding my garage. And my handyman gets out there and digs a little buffer zone, but it goes away. I know you all see Richard Gonzalez out there
Yeah.
digging all the time. So at some point, I'm gonna be too old to get out there and shovel. It's getting worse, and my concern is where is all that water gonna go that's coming down from Second Avenue?
So I think that, so I'm not a storm engineer, but Michael is. Remember that this project has been done in stages, so until it's complete, it will not function at its maximum. So we've already made significant improvements down there. Forest is much better. I know, I talked to all of those folks down there. But it is the basin of the entire, of everything from third down, so it's definitely a challenging situation we have there. But I think it would be good for us at this point, we'll get Mrs. Haynes' comment or question answered, and then, but Michael, I think that you should make some comment on how these projects work together for an ultimate solution.
Well, when they put those drains in on First Avenue, they were supposed to alleviate the water from washing out the beaches, which we weren't having any water washing them out. But now that they put those ditches in, the ditches fill up and it, my God, you can't get to it because I have to keep bringing dirt in because it keeps washing out the beach. And my grandkids won't even go in the water anymore. It's like a murky, I don't know what. I've been here for a long time. I just don't see.
Are you on the cove there, on the little cove?
I am. I have that little dock in the middle.
Mhm.
I'm on the left side, and Jeff, I don't know what his last name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's up on Second Avenue. It's just getting worse. I just want to know what you're going to do, and you keep saying we're doing all these swales and things, but it's getting worse, that's all.
So Michael and Tanya, can you help us out there in terms of?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Ma'am, I just want to remind you that Mr. Fitzgibbon and I met you out at your property and we walked you through this project. Unfortunately, this project got delayed because of the cost. So it's the same project he and I talked to you about in the road at First and Forest, right there at the bay.
So when we met with John and you said that the drains that were there would capture the water and it was gonna go up towards Main Street. Well, the road is lower than the drains, the water does not go in those caption things. And of course, every month they come with the trucks and stuff, always sand out.
Yeah,
There's
because
gotta be a better solution.
well, the West Second Avenue project hasn't even started yet. That's why. The project we talked to you about on West Second Avenue that's gonna help alleviate those issues hasn't started yet. That's why.
We did not speak about Second Avenue, we were just addressing right from my house. The drainage there, and I was told that that was gonna go up to Main Street. And John shared the plans with me, it was explained, it seemed good, but it wasn't.
I think we do believe it is a good project to be successful. There's been a lot of improvement there to date. So I think
Improvement on First Avenue,
there's been improvement definitely on.
I am the one that's in the end of the basin, and it's getting worse. So you can sit here and say, there's been some improvement, perhaps on paper, but in reality, my garage is flooding because I've been here for 40 years in hurricanes, and now we get a little bit of rain, and my yard's washed out, and then my beach is washed out, so my property is a mess.
So let's hear about the project tonight, because this is an important critical piece of that. Let's hear about that, and then if we need to, we can have Mr. Fitzgibbon and Tanya, and whoever we need to come back out and take another look at it. But that this project together is gonna be the culmination of what's gonna make, hopefully those improvements where you see all that water going down Second Avenue, it moves significant amounts of debris and washout and causes a lot of problems, so.
So what you're saying is when you complete the project on Second Avenue, you're not gonna have all that water going into Wasion Bay?
So water will always go into Wasion Bay if it exceeds what the capacity of the system is. But again, I think it's better to have Michael answer these questions because he's the expert. I just know,
Yes or
you
no
know.
question?
So, okay, well, there's always the opportunity for water to overflow in any of the systems that we have here. These things they're challenging because of our sand streets that we desire to keep. So we have to work within the boundaries that we have to try to move that water in an effective way. And it can be tricky at times. But again, Mike's done a good job with that system down there. We made some significant improvements on it after the first design. I think that he can answer the questions better in terms of what the Second Avenue project will do.
Don, you want to talk? Thank you.
Yeah, Don.
Don Huber, 522 West Second Avenue. I came tonight, I got a call about 6 o'clock. As I'm totally unprepared for what I'm gonna say, and I hope you'll just bear with me, I'm Mayor, Council. But my concern is, not knowing what the plans are in detail as the schedule for paving Second Avenue. I've heard that the contractor has up to 17 months. And I can tell you from Second Avenue, there's over 50 homes on Second Avenue, and there must be 6 cars in each house. They go up and down the streets all the time. They've been working on a water issue that they just finished paving, at Second and Pine. It's taken them 4 months. I've had signs in my yard on both ends of it for 4 months to put in a 20 by 20 paved area. And I'm really concerned about what's gonna happen and who's, what the procedure's gonna be for construction. If it is the 17 months that I've heard, I've built a lot of roads and buildings and a lot of things, and I can't fathom that, especially with 50 people living down there and all the cars and kids and how all that's gonna be done. So I just want to express my concern. I know that may not even be on the agenda tonight, but.
So we can get that question answered for you. So that's one question, you guys. I want to get quickly back to Councilperson Dean. She did have a question. Do you want to, that bring your?
Well, I really know what Mike has.
Where do you want me to start?
Capture.
Well, the West Second Avenue project is primarily a project to improve the conveyance and the capture of stormwater on West Second Avenue. I guess it'd be the west end of the project at the cul-de-sac. We've seen significant flooding because there is no place for that water to go. And the residents have told us as such. And so part of the project is to address the flooding issues in that cul-de-sac. And the HMGP project that was approved by FEMA is a flood mitigation project. And that was one of the reasons why we were able to garner that funding, was to be able to demonstrate that the improvements that we're going to do is going to mitigate for flooding and really reduce the impacts to those residents on the cul-de-sac end. As we move further east towards Pine Street, we'll be adding additional areas where we'll be capturing stormwater and storing it in French drains, and then eventually releasing it into Lake Butler. Again, part of that component is to treat that stormwater before it discharges in Lake Butler. And that was one of the conditions of the.
Mike, can I interrupt you? Yes, just to move a little closer to the microphone there. It's fine that you're there, it's just I want to make sure we can all.
Yeah, part of the conditions of the South Florida Water Management District's criteria is that we provide
treatment pursuant to their regulations prior to its discharge into the Butler Chain Lakes. As we proceed across Pine Street, that section of roadway has already been approved under a separate project, so we will not be revisiting that part of West Second Avenue. And as we go further east from Butler going down to Forest Street, it's a very steep slope, and we have seen the street erode on the sides, plus the pavement is in such disrepair because of the sandy water that it was it needed to be replaced. And that's why we have to come back and pave it. But we're also going to improve the conveyance and the capture of stormwater along that steep section of West Second Avenue, where the water goes into the properties. It's not being captured, so it's flowing directly into the adjacent properties. But we're going to capture it and take it into the Forest Street drainage system that currently exists today.
Yes, of course.
So if you're going west to east, I mean, I know I walked that for Halloween, so I know from Pine Street out, that's pretty far. So if I'm understanding correctly, and I mean, I've been at meetings where this project was talked about, but admittedly not studied the plans really in detail. So all of the water west of Pine Street that you're collecting, is it going to be going through some sort of structures into Lake Butler there? Or you're literally,
We have
in some respect, piping it all east?
we have a system that's already in place. Like that was constructed a while back, that we'll be connecting to, and it will discharge into Lake Butler. And it's that system that was constructed was already it captures that part of West Second Avenue, which currently exists today. I mean, it drains there today, but it's just not efficient. So
Where does it come out? On the east, down by Forest Street?
I'm sorry.
Isn't that swale line from the park that would come down at?
Okay, where does the water come out off of?
Oh, at Pine and Second,
Peninsula, off the peninsula, where does that water go now?
that water just stands there, and it just percolates into the ground. What we're doing is we're gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna improve the ability to capture it and put it underground in a French drain system. So it's gonna be a larger French drain system that's going to replace the one that currently exists today. The one that is in there today doesn't function. It is totally blocked up. It's a very small pipe. And so we're replacing it with much larger pipe. It's going to more efficiently remove or capture and evacuate the water into the groundwater.
But directly below the French drain system, or is it shooting that off to the east? That's the part. So if we imagine I'm a blue raindrop, different from all the rest, and I drop out at the very far end of that cul-de-sac, where does that raindrop end up?
It's going to go underground, okay?
Correct.
And it's going to seep vertically.
Vertical.
Yep.
So this water isn't supposed to convey to the east.
It's not going. It's not going to be on the surface. It'll be underground. It'll be part of the groundwater.
Street part needs something about it.
It does not tie into the First Avenue and Fourth Street.
So
It's-
it's French drain line below ground, the capacity is exceeded, where does that excess rainwater go?
It's going to go between the lots. You know, it's going to go where it goes today. Yeah.
All of our systems have maximum capacity at which point they overflow. So, that is a challenge, but it's a reality in all systems that are designed, to my knowledge. And just a quick reminder too, that the design for this project, it's all approved. All we're doing tonight here is accepting the amendment to the contract, which gives us the funds to actually proceed with the contract, that you guys worked out with that MFE. So just to put that point of clarification out, this design has already been approved by council.
So one other question, so that's the portion to the west, so then the portion where the steep slope is, you said that's between Butler and which street, Forest?
4th Street, that steep section of West Second Avenue. Right now, water just rushes down to the low point at 4th Street.
Now, does that water have the same French drain system in that portion of it?
It will eventually go into the 4th Street system that goes to the south. To the north, I'm sorry.
That block then will go tie that.
It
part
currently
will
goes,
tie-
it currently goes there now. And we're just basically assisting the way the water gets captured on West Second Avenue to get it to the same system. So we're not changing anything as far as the amount of drainage area, the amount of impervious area. All we're doing is we're just making it more efficient for the drainage system to go into what's currently exists on 4th Street so that it doesn't wash out those properties along West Second Avenue.
There
We're all-
is a French drain system on that block, that one too, where some water can have vertical.
Currently there is a French drain system on 4th Street.
No, I mean on that steep block.
No, there is none.
There's nothing. on
There's nothing there. There's nothing there. And like I said, the pavement water stands in that area so frequently that the pavement is so distressed. And so the only way we can improve it is to put in new pavement to extend the service life of the road.
Will any of this project increase the amount of volume of water
No,
that's
that's-
these areas that they're speaking of?
No.
No. We haven't changed anything. We haven't changed the drainage area. We haven't changed the amount of impervious area. It's the same width pavement that we're putting in. It's just the way we're conveying the water to the drainage system is what's capturing it and conveying it is what's going to be improved. So we're not, instead of water washing off the roads into the properties, we're gonna keep it in the right of way, within the roadway. Capturing it there and then taking it down to 4th Street.
Which is the most effective way and also
Right.
allows us to not impact. One of the things that we always work with in the town is folks that like to have water in their right of way or our right of way, actually. They prefer not to have it there. So we always, when we're able to, we avoid that, and that's part of what we've done.
Yeah, from what I understand, Brandy, maybe this would clear up what you're thinking is the section, so from Butler down to Forest on Second. All that water runs between the houses now. So it runs off so we're capturing it there, keeping it from running through Steve's house. Through the Regans and everybody else is all through, you can see where the water runs, because the low spot is Forest Street, Forest and First. Is keeping it out and then bringing it around. From what I understood from the designs from, I mean, 4 years into this thing plus, I think.
And we can get those designs,
Yeah.
anyone that's where folks haven't seen it, they want to see it.
They got to out of it because there was so much water running past everybody through Twain and then in everybody's backyard that's along Forest and along First and then down on the First and then into the lake. So it's moving that water in a different direction.
I mean, someone's increasing the volume at the other
It's the
end.
same amount.
Because I mean, like, on the Vessi project, I mean, it sounds a lot different, because the Vessi project, it is cold burning. And we're shooting a lot of that water down the other, so
Well,
if
yeah.
you're adding a lot of volume.
The homes have gotten a little bit bigger on Second, but they've always been built out. There hasn't been a lot of green space along there to start with. So it's moving the same amounts.
Any additional questions?
Just one question on that, actually voting on tonight. Is there a reason why we're not carrying any contingency funds in the project?
I'm sorry, Tony.
Why are we not carrying any contingency?
So, budget line items. Looking at this. Contingency lines are zeroed out. Is there a reason why that is? The reason I ask is we've gone back to FEM because of cost increases. You know, concerns me that we're not carrying any contingency on this project. We get a cost.
They-
We're gonna have to do this.
They will not consider contingencies just because they are fixed on the budget already, because when a hurricane is, when we have a natural disaster and money is dedicated to that natural disaster. There's only a certain amount of money that the federal government will dedicate to that disaster aid. So we were even lucky to get a budget increase on this project because when we found out that we exceeded the bid, far exceeded the original budget. When we approached them, the first thing they asked is, we got to see how much money's left over for Hurricane Irma. Because there's other projects that may not have been funded where the money goes back in the kitty. So we had to go back and see if they had money. Well, they came back and said, well, we got a little bit of money, but we have to go back and make sure the project is still cost effective, which means we had to go back and reanalyze the benefit cost ratio for the project to make sure that it exceeds 1 in order for them to say, we feel like it's effective and we will grant you that budget increase. And that's why there's no contingencies, because of how tight the budget is for Hurricane Irma.
Means we eat it.
So we would, if there was
Well-
other money to be on us.
Well, understand it's a 75 split already. So it's 75% FEMA's gonna pay for, 25 is gonna be the local share. So that's significant cost savings to the town.
So the way we're able to come by the additional funds, that the cost escalations have been so great throughout the state of Florida and with this particular program, that folks who weren't able to absorb that additional cost had to back out. Yeah. So it left those dollars there, and these guys were able to capture them, and that's excellent work on behalf of our taxpayers. But again, it's not a cheap project, but one that needs to be accomplished. Looking for a motion to approve, council. So moved. Approved by Councilperson Davenport. Looking for a second. Second, Councilperson Williams. Any questions? Additional questions? Seeing none, begin voting with Councilperson Haynes.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff.
Thank you.
I would ask that we, maybe, John and you, Tony, can revisit, both the houses down there to make sure. that
Absolutely.
Questions answered. See them.
Absolutely.
Yes, the photos.
I appreciate that.
I didn't know.
You can get information.
Next up, council, is item 2. This is consulting and retainer proposal for JPF Development Solutions. This is amendment number 3. Staff recommends approval. Looking for a motion to approve. Motion approved, Councilperson Davenport. Looking for a second. Second, Councilperson. Questions, comments, or concerns, council?
Just a comment, this rate, I mean.
Yeah. It's way too cheap. So.
You have to fight me for it, Tony.
We won't tell. Yeah, listen, we're super blessed to have that opportunity to have someone that lives here, understands who we are. And has the knowledge to be able to work not only with our residents, but with staff, and make sure that our projects are completed properly. We are super appreciative of Mr. Fitzgibbon. Council, looking, see, we got our motion. Any additional questions? All right, we can vote in Councilperson Stewart. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next up is approval of RFP 2024-01. This is lobbying services. Selection committee recommends J&J Associates. As everyone knows, we've Tony, did you want to present on this at all?
No, Mayor, I will let you go ahead, but just letting you know that Mr. Richard Miller from JEJ is here in the audience, should you have any questions. Robert Miller.
We can get those answered. We did sit on the committee for this. Robust conversation. We had 5 great.
2024. It was bid out a long time ago.
At the end of the day, we decided that someone who was a little smaller, more of a boutique firm, would be able to best meet our needs. Some of these other lobbying agencies and organizations, they're fantastic, they're giant. And we felt we might get lost in that shuffle, so we felt that this would be a good way to get started. There was a big value proposition there as well. Certainly, if it's any questions, we have a representative from J&J here as well. For a motion to approve, council?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilperson Williams. For a second. Second, Councilperson Haynes. Any comments or questions, council? Seeing none, we'll begin voting with Councilperson Haynes.
Aye.
Aye. Looking forward to this, we've been meeting with all of our representatives, so hopefully we're able to combine their efforts, their advocacy, along with the lobbying and advocacy that we'll receive, as well. Combine all that, that was a very successful, year. There's always headwinds with, obtaining funds with Tallahassee and Washington. We've got some big asks. The number one thing we're going to focus on is going to be those efforts that we've already begun and started and continue, our potable water, et cetera, our planning, sanitary sewer, as well as traffic and roadway conveyance. So those are going to be our big items and big asks, and hopefully we'll be successful. Thank you, Council. Next up, we have Mayor and Council liaison reports. Just briefly, I want to express my thanks to the entire town, as well as staff and council and everyone who worked to bring Old Glory back to town in honor of Evan Fitzgibbon. Had a dedication ceremony on Saturday that was just amazingly well attended, and I think very, very meaningful to the Fitzgibbon family, and I think meaningful to our town as well. Greg Anderson was here a little earlier, and certainly appreciate all of their efforts with Lobster and Laughter and that fundraising event. That event has doubled from the size it was last year, so the trajectory is really nice, and it's really positive to see that. We did mention Arbor Day. It's going to be Saturday. The town will be able to get their tree as well as their legacy trees, and then on the 24th at the food truck event, we have our centennial celebration kickoff, where we're going to light the torches out front, and those will remain lit during the 2025 centennial. So we look forward to seeing everyone there as well. Any additional council reports?
Yes, Mayor. So on the 6th of January, we had the Historic Preservation Board. During that time, they started plans for the 13th September Roaring 20 Speakeasy as part of the centennial celebration. So work on that is ongoing. In addition to that, the CC Allen came and described the oral history project that they've been working on. And discussed that Historic Preservation Board may want to pick that up and continue the efforts that are going on that. So that's continuing to be discussed as well. But I think that should be worth getting more ahead.
Thank you.
Yep, SAC meeting for the school did not meet last month, neither is Butler Tree Place. For the tree board, they had subcommittee meetings, which I saw about that tonight. The tree giveaway will start at 9. Vicki didn't mention that earlier, so, and if anyone has a centennial tree, that's slightly bigger tree, and they're working out the plans for that. And then, as she said, at 10:30, whatever trees are left, people can come back and purchase. They're doing like planting of the centennial tree over at Stroop's house, and then also there's a couple other ones that they're replacing in town. So there's a couple different things, they're all different days. Look at the calendar that's on there.
There's going to be no shortage of activities.
Yeah.
We also met with Representative Spencer, who's our new representative for 45, and he was very interested in the Butler Bay Advisory Committee and how that funding works. And so we explained to him the best we could about that, but he'll be back after session. It might be a good idea for you to have a little conversation. We talked a lot about the value that we receive in terms of our shoreline protections and the efforts that we've made in town as well as, improvements that we've made at the boat ramp, to kind of regulate that, and the work that the county commission and FWC did, at the island as well. So I felt, he's like, it's in a pretty good place, and I told him, I think, nothing's ever perfect, but I think we're in the best place we've been in probably 20 years on that, so that was, that was really, definitely, that's interesting.
I do get now text updates if something happens out there with the buoys, so I did get one, but it was over Christmas, so I didn't disturb anybody with it last night, like, so, and now in the loop if something breaks, I guess,
Excellent.
that's it.
Councilperson Drew.
No, I just, a shout out to long range planners, the problem we're working on, their studies lead to this whole rewrite of that plan. I would never have taken it on myself, and they voluntarily jumped on it, so it's a big deal. I get no credit for it whatsoever, even though I got a shot at it, I can tell you, I've done nothing. Make it happen. My hands off.
Well, you're providing good leadership there, so. Hey, Councilperson Williams.
All right, February 4th, the social committee, 60 plus is what they've renamed elders. We'll have our monthly luncheon. It will be, I don't think we have a name yet, but Michael Mark is going to come out and do a little bit of his magic for us. So everybody's welcome. It'll starts at 11:30, and we normally have it wrapped up. It's always a good time, good food. Centennial Committee, lots going on. Don't even know where to start with that. Next Friday, torch lighting. The oral history project is ongoing. I think we're gonna have the oral part of it up and running. It'll run in the lobby at admin on the. Right now, there's pictures only. Along with that, we have a calendar coming out that will be mailed directly to all the residents here in the next, say, about 3 weeks. It'll have list all the events for the year, our normal events, plus national holidays and that kind of stuff. So it kind of pulls all our pieces together. So that's where we're at right this second. Next Friday will be the big one. You guys get off.
Appreciate all the work that the entire Centennial Committee and as well as council has been doing to make sure that, we've got all these things. We're juggling a lot of balls up here, but it's going to be an exciting year. Tanya, give our staff management report.
Sure. Just letting you all know that with the centennial activities, Public Works is also working very, very hard on those. And so Travis, Brian, Wesley, and Kelly have helped with the gas installations, the line installations, the lamps out here. We're actually the ones that are gonna put the benches together when they arrive. We had to work, we're gonna need to work with a concrete contractor to pour all the slabs for the benches, the 12 benches. All the trees that come in, it's my team that gets them off of that truck and gets them set up out there. We'll be digging holes out at Windermere Recreation so that those trees can be planted for Arbor Day. So they're a little busy right now, and I am asking for everyone's patience as we juggle all of those activities in and around their regular, normal scheduled activities. So just keep in mind, they've got a lot on their plates in the next couple of weeks.
You also install word twice.
Yes.
Help set us up for that. Yeah,
Yes.
it's there's a lot going on. So
There is.
proud of everybody.
Yes. But I am very proud of their efforts, and I just wanted to make sure they got recognized this evening.
Councilor Ramos.
Happy New Year, everyone. I just have a real quick update from Nick and Summer on the boathouse. The trial that has been set in August. And I guess it was the tenants were trying to push it till next year, but the judge said no, he wants it to happen this year. So it will.
Thank you. Appreciate the update. Chief.
Afternoon, man. There's 365 lives that we've been trying to do for a few years. It looks like we're gonna go live with that next month, so the RMS had system on that. We are still in SRO negotiations. That went actually very well today, so it looks like we're making some good headway there. I know you guys noticed that the speed sign that we get a lot of appreciation for on 6th Avenue. Somebody crashed into that a few weeks ago. So we we were able to track them, thank God somebody actually followed them and took a picture, we weren't able to, but that they were drunk, it was a drunk driver. But, we got their insurance, gonna pay for a new one, so we're gonna have that on order in a couple of days. So maybe we could still barricade around this one or something. And the report's almost done, we have a couple people on interview, on the last, and a quick reference earlier on code enforcement, Stephen has done a really good job being proactive. I will tell you, 3 months that he has been here, I can honestly say I've seen more proactive work than I probably have in 10 years. To be honest with you, so he's doing a good job of that.
Good improvement.
Yes, very good.
And good job, tracking it down, so we didn't have to pay for the speed sign that got absolutely mowed over. As well as a couple of our roundabouts, we finally also got the light pole is fixed, by Windermere.
Don't forget the guardrail on Chase, that's a.
Oh, thank you. I was worried about that. So the orange barrier around Chase, it had some damage, and it kind of left it. It did not have the end cover that it's supposed to have to protect someone if they were to hit that, so. Stuff like that makes me worried, so we were able to get that repaired as well, so it's much safer and can do its job.
Can I have the on the SRO for the school?
Yes, we have a contract at the end of the day, we're moving forward on that, so I thought it went very well.
It's been quite a little process of negotiations and we're just about there. Thanks, Chief. Yeah, so it's a difficult situation because of course we support SRO officers and we have been committed to this program since day one. Since before the law was enacted to make it a requirement, we've been providing that service. We continue, but also we have an obligation to our taxpayers to make sure that required for that is that we maximize that. The amount that has been offered has always been short of what it actually costs to put an officer in a car and training. They have very specific requirements and about the level and type of officer that's there. So it has been, well, it was the right thing to do to request that. But again, it's a negotiation and a process. At no point have we ever said that it's not something that we are going to continue to do, that we desire to do. But we do want to make sure that we're treated fairly, and that's all we've ever asked. So we appreciate all the effort that both the school board and chief and all the chiefs throughout West Orange County and Winter Garden and Winter Park, and everyone has worked really hard on that. So it's been a little politicized here and there, but we've tried to just remain with the basics and just get it done across the finish line. Thank you, Chief, for that leadership.
You're welcome.
And Mayor, one comment since, light of all the accidents the chief is running over, and to mention all the glory, we may want to look at opportunities to protect Old Glory from drug drivers around.
That's the plan. We have a video.
Landscape holders or something.
We have a video 3 weeks ago, somebody came around and if the horse was there, it would have been gone.
So one of the things that we were kind of sitting down, and one of the things we kind of realized was that where it was before, it's counter to the flow of traffic, so it was kind of protected. Now it's in the, so if you miss the turn, it's right there. So, and then the other thing I thought maybe we should consider is, putting a little TIG weld on the end of those bolts to make sure that no one unbolts it and decides that.
I'll get with Charlie, we're seeing some things earlier, but yeah, I mean,
Sounds good.
when people's speed are there, it's generally coming from 6th Avenue this way, and we've seen the most accidents.
And I did have Mike Woodward, the traffic engineer, look at that area and provide us with his consensus on where that horse should go at that section as well, because I was a little concerned.
John, maybe cheap insurance, but a couple of, landscape holders in front of it, just, it'd be heartbreaking to see that the horse get taken out. We fought so hard to get it back and, dedicated
Yeah.
For sure. And it also brings up one thing that I did speak with Mr. Fitzgibbon about, and that was the 500 block development. That's certainly moving along. They're working on the final parts and pieces, as well as some of the hardscape out there. We're working to make sure that all those beds are protected. Get the maximum amount of landscape that project as well, so it's gonna look nice. And that everything's kind of just right, so Tom's really watching that, and I just wanted to share that as well since he's not here. Clerk Coulter, any news?
I do, qualifying has closed, we have 5 candidates running for 3 positions. I do want to bring everybody's attention that, December 31st, if you have ever requested to have a ballot mailed to you, those are now expired. So if you ever want to have another ballot mailed to you for any election, you need to go on the website for the Orange County Supervisor of Elections and renew that request. There is a link on our website under elections and under news that will take you to that site to do that. But it's very important. We do have an election coming up ourselves, but any other important elections that may come up that you normally would get a ballot in the mail, you would need to renew that request.
Is that in the Gazette?
I'm sorry?
Can that be put in the Gazette?
Yes, ma'am, it's going in the Gazette.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Other than that, there is a vote by mail for the annexation that's going on. We will have the elections going on. I am on the Centennial Committee. So there's a lot going on, so.
There is plenty. One last question before we adjourn. Tanya, we and Michael, we said we would say how long the project was expected to take on Second Avenue and when it would start. Can you give out that information?
So we have a pre-construction meeting that we're gonna schedule with Cathcart. We did have a contract with them that gave them a start time frame of February, and they have 549 days to complete it as part of the FDEM grant project. So once we have the pre-con with them, we'll come out with a more viable schedule and put that out to everyone.
Do you have a ballpark on how long is that amount of time gonna be needed, or is that a window for them to start? And obviously have it completed in that same window, but.
So that's a window. Go ahead, Mike.
So what happens is we give them notice to proceed on February 1st. There's gonna be some administrative work they gotta do up front.
Right.
Which means the paperwork, contracts to sign. We have to review shop drawings that have to be submitted for fabrication. Then there'll be a lag time for delivery of those structures once they are fabricated. So there'll be weeks before they get that, and they'll be looking to get their materials set, their pipe, their gravel, anything they need. And also, we'll be working with them on the mains of traffic. You were concerned about traffic along Second Avenue. We'll be working with them on the mains of traffic and how to accommodate the residents as construction approaches in front of their property. Whether it be one lane where we have flagmen, direct traffic go around the construction site, close the back up during the day, and come back and open the back up next day. So during the night, during the evening after hours, the residents would have full access to their driveways or to the street. So we'll be working with them on main traffic as well.
So a decent portion of those 500 days are going to be set for this administrative work, mobilization, ordering of materials. So we don't expect the road to be torn up for 500 days, right? Is that fair?
No, it won't be 500 days because it's at some point, toward like, let's say towards the end of the project, they'll be just doing cleanup work. They'll be doing the final paving of the roads, putting in the speed humps, putting in their signage and the pavement markings down. Doing some work on sidewalks up close to Main Street, things like that, where we'll be outside the roadway corridor. So there is gonna be work, but it's all gonna be within the right of way, but not necessarily work in the road. So we're gonna try to get the road, all the underground work will probably be first thing that'll be done. And they'll come back and start restoring the road first before they restore everything else. We also have water mains that we're putting in as part of the project. So we've got some utilities that we have coordinated with not only the county, but also the residents on those that are connected to the Orange County utilities system, make sure that we maintain service to them all times.
And there's enhanced fire hydrant flow there too, I believe we built into that and did not, or is that?
I believe we already have our hydrants in place, we have sufficient spacing for the hydrants. And what we are doing is providing future connections on side streets for any future growth in the water supply system, town's water supply system.
Good, all right, thank you guys, we appreciate that. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, we will adjourn our meeting at 7:25. Yeah, thank you.